Owen.
Hey, Gabby.
How are you?
I'm just so good. How are you?
I know. Well, I want to ask about your quarantine life right now, but
Mm,
first, congratulations on graduating college.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a little underwhelming after like 4 years of hard work and um, like overcoming a lot of obstacles, and then just like yesterday, it was like, oh, you're done forever.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so everyone, welcome to our third installation of Champion Chats. Our next guest is the incomparable Owen Luebbers. So I'm so excited to have you on. We've known each other for a very long time, so it means a lot to have this conversation with you. I was thinking back to it, and it's been about a decade. I mean, we obviously we're in the same region, the Mid-Atlantic region,
Yeah,
so we've been at Feshes together and Oireachtas, and then I started practicing in the same studio as you when I went to college, so we've been through a lot of years. Oh, and then we did Hammerstep together.
yeah.
I've obviously been very fortunate enough to witness you stand at the top of so many podiums, but we do like to kick off every chat by letting our guests share their amazing accomplishments with everyone listening. So, Owen, what titles do you have on your record?
Okay. I won the Worlds in 2017, and then I won the All Irelands in 2016 and 2019. And then I've won Great Britain's, All Scotland's, the North American Nationals, the British Nationals, the Irish Nationals, and like 12 Mid-Atlantic Oireachtas titles.
You have me beat. I'm at 11.
Ooh.
So, based on the amazing questions that were submitted by our followers, a lot of people were interested in knowing how you got started in dancing, what made you choose dancing, how old you were. So, let's literally just start from the beginning.
So I'm the youngest of three siblings. So by the time I was born, both of my siblings were already dancing.
Right.
So it was kind of just the natural order for me to follow in their footsteps and kind of just like dance. So by the time I was like walking, I was dancing basically. There's like VHS tapes of me at like I have this specific memory of some event, and I like come running out onto the stage like doing like a Michael Flatley. Like
Wow.
I was like a baby. Yeah, and I like couldn't actually dance. I was just moving my feet.
Yeah.
But it was obviously like it was just like ingrained, you know what I mean? And I started taking like formal classes when I was 5, and then I actually moved around to a couple different schools before I like settled on one school for an extended period of time.
Right.
And yeah, after that, it brings us up to now pretty much.
Okay. But we'll get into all that.
Yeah.
That's a good start. Okay, so we also got some great questions from followers wondering how you learn to balance all of the life responsibilities that naturally increase over time. This is something I can definitely relate to as well. As we get older, the competition gets more intense, and so do our responsibilities outside of dance. So, how did you balance school and Irish dance? How do you balance those things with your TikTok account? You're like, and other social media stuff. I mean, like, basically just how did you find a sense of balance for everything?
Yeah. So before high school, I was actually homeschooled.
Oh,
So from the ages of like 5, whenever you start school, 5 and 6, to 8th grade, I was homeschooled. So that really like kind of ingrained a sense of like personal responsibility in me. You have to be accountable. You have to hold yourself accountable for
yeah.
getting stuff done and like deadlines and stuff, because you don't really have anybody like, watching over like everything that you're doing. So that kind of has followed me throughout my high school career and my college career, in that like, and honestly more so in college than high school. College, I was actually more comfortable with that than in high school, and that balance of like knowing when I have to get stuff done, knowing when I have to practice, knowing when I have to like work out and like cross train and stuff. Um, High school was really difficult just because I was traveling long distances to get to class on a daily, weekly basis.
Right.
I was going to class like 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a week, depending on the week. And, even ramping up towards a major, it would be even more than that. So and this is like on top of, I would be training for these competitions on top of like school work and then school activities. Like,
Yeah, you did track too, right?
yeah, I ran track. Well, I played like, I played sports all 3 seasons. So it was kind of like, there was never a dull, there's never an off season. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's never like you don't, like, I was always doing something, like, no
Yeah.
matter what the season. Um, so it really forced me to have to like make use of every spare moment of time that I had. So in the car, I would be doing homework. Like in the studio, I would be doing homework when I wasn't dancing, and like, and on the way home. And I mean, it really messed up my sleeping schedule for like probably like 8 years of my life. We're like kind of getting back
We
on track
laugh, but
now.
it's like so sad.
Oh, it is so sad. I think I'm like permanently sleep deprived from high school. Like, I don't think I'll ever make up that sleep deficit that I have. But yeah, it really forced me to like compartmentalize like the different aspects of my life and like my
Right.
brain. And it really, like, you have to be focused on the task at hand. So like when I'm in school, obviously, well, I mean, that's not true. Never mind. When I was in school, I was still always thinking about dance. So that's not necessarily true.
Oh,
Dance was the one thing that kind of like trumps everything, I feel like.
yeah.
Like, realistically, the agenda should be like school and then like dance and then like other things. But like, I feel like for me, and I'm sure it's probably the same for you too. For a lot of my life, it was dance and then school.
Yeah, it's just kind of, yeah, like you said, it's always in the back of your head. I would always dance under the desk, or I'd be worried about like a step I had to do, or like how I was going to do at a private or class later that day. Yeah, it's always at
Yeah,
the back of
exactly.
your mind. But I think for me, it was almost not easier to have a bunch of things going on, but like I feel like I would have procrastinated a lot more on everything
Yep.
else. So just having a bunch of things to do really made me make a schedule and adhere to that schedule instead of just doing whatever I wanted and then going to dance class.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was the same way. Even in, it was kind of funny because college like was actually harder for me in the sense that I actually had less going on than I did in high
Right.
school.
Me too.
I got to college and I was like, I had all this free time and I was like, I don't know what to do with myself.
I almost wanted to practice more, or I felt like I had to practice more because I had so much free time. But you have to
Right.
restrain yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, like, realistically, you just can't, I mean, you can't practice every day. It's just
Yeah.
not, it's not an attainable goal.
That's another thing, an important thing to talk about though, is like how to set limits and boundaries on your
Right.
practice schedule.
Yeah.
If you do have free time, or, like for me, even now, we have so much free time in quarantine that it's like this overwhelming feeling that you have to be productive, but it's okay to
Right.
not be productive all day, every day.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
setting aside
100%.
time to work out for an hour and then call it a day. I
Yeah.
know we texted a little bit about working
Mhm.
out too. We were like all gung ho in the beginning. My motivation has gone down a little bit. So
No, me too. Me too. Those first 2 weeks, I was, I was like
we were on.
on I was on it. I was running. I don't know. Looking back on it, I'm like, how did I have the energy to do that? I would go out and I would run like 4 to 6 miles. I like ramped it up because I hadn't run in a while. And then I would go back and I would like work out for an hour. And then I would like, I was like
I know
doing so much.
we were doing a lot.
Like, I don't know how I did that.
Okay, bringing it back. Um, I personally really want to dive into differences in training between the various studios that you've danced for. I'd imagine some of those differences could have different impacts on your well-being, your mental health, which is what we're all about here at the Well Winner. So for me, when I had like a very strict time limit to a class and I knew, let's say it was 2 hours from 7 to 9 p.m., I felt like I had a really strong, productive class because like mentally I was able to push myself knowing that I would be able to leave at some point and get rest,
Right,
Um,
right.
when it was an open-ended class, I feel, and I hate saying this, but I feel like I mentally gave up because I would get to a point where I was like, when's this over? So I used a similar metaphor in one of the captions on the Well Winner account, but like if you were told to just go practice shuffles until you're told to stop, you'd probably put in half the effort thinking the entire time, when's this going to be over? Like, I'm over this, whatever.
Yeah.
You'll never feel like that sense of accomplishment even after you're done, because you'll be like, did I really do what I needed to do? But if
Right.
you were told to go do 50 shuffles on each foot, you'd probably give it, or you should give it, full effort from start to finish, because you knew all you had to do was 50 shuffles to be accomplished and like feel like you did what you needed to do.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if you had similar thoughts or what your experience was like.
That I love that metaphor because that's exactly how I feel about the various like training techniques that I've experienced.
Right.
So with my old studio, classes were very much open-ended. Technically they were structured, but they were structured in a way that went on for upwards of 4 to 6 to 7 hours depending on the day. And when you have you could walk into class knowing that you would be done by midnight, but you would be walking into class at 6 p.m. saying, oh, well, I won't be done this class until midnight. So I have to conserve energy. I have to have enough energy to be able to like last until midnight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with Holly and Kavanagh, the school that I danced for, that I train with, their classes they're very structured. Like you pretty much walk into class knowing exactly what to expect.
Right.
You walk into class knowing that you're going to do steps, a full, maybe 2, depending on the day, if you're working on stamina or not, and then your full set, and you'll do fulls in both rounds. You do all rounds. You'll do all 3 rounds at every class. It's nice to be able to have that sense of like, I can give 150%. I can actually give more than 100% because I know exactly what I have to give. I know exactly
That's what I was getting at, yeah.
To be able to feel accomplished at the end of the class. Like, I know that if I give 100% on all my fulls and all my whatever we do, I'll get to the end of the class and I'll feel good.
Right. Exactly.
Rather than half trying for 6 hours and then
finishing. Not knowing if you're going to have to do it again, so you give 100% or 120% because you want to do everything you can, and then you go sit down and it's like, nope, you got to do it again. So
no, it's like one more time. And then you're like, okay, well, I can't give that same effort again. It's just not. Right. It's not mentally possible, and it's not physically possible either. Right. Like to give that same effort twice, like it's just not. Yeah. And like mentally as well, like I think like so much of Irish dancing, I would say it's probably, honestly, it's like, I don't know what the percentage is exactly, but I would say it's probably the same with most sports. It's more of a mental game than it is a physical game.
100%, yeah.
It's way more like, I know a lot of times, like I'll be my own worst enemy in class, especially during a full thing. I'll be like doing a full thing and I'll get to like the middle step or something, and
right.
I'll be in my head, I'll be like, this is terrible. I'm not, and then once I have that thought, I like give up.
I think structure and being able to know what you're expected, like what is expected of you, is mentally better for a dancer to get through. I think hours on end of practice is mentally draining, and that's when your performance decreases and it just becomes a very unproductive class.
Yeah, I totally agree.
While you're on the topic though, I do kind of want to get into how or why you made the switch from the US to Ireland. I mean, it's such an interesting thing and it's really not been done. Yeah, so tell me a little bit about it.
The whole concept of like moving from America to Ireland, or any country to Ireland to train, is a very, it feels to me like a very like Gen Z millennial like mindset to be in, like, oh, I can just like up and move to another country to train. Like it's very, I feel like it's a very like our generation, like our age thing to do. So really for me, the the catalyst for making the decision to move to Ireland was my brother, because he made the move to Ireland before me.
Right.
I guess it was like a year before I did. He moved there in August of 2017, and I lived in Ireland for the summer of August 2000, or from, I guess it was like May 2018. So just the next year I moved. And the reason for that was I was at a point in my Irish dancing career where I was looking for more.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been at the same studio for how many years? Since I was a baby, like since I was 7. And, you know, yeah, I had been at the same studio since I was 7, and it just got a little bit monotonous over time, and I didn't see much more of an opportunity for growth as a dancer, as an athlete, and as an artist.
Okay.
Like with like I felt kind of creatively I was being like my creativity and Irish, like my I don't know how to say it, but like my creativity as an Irish dancer was being suppressed.
Yep.
And I felt that was just like an unhealthy environment for me to be in. And also on top of that, my brother was like, you need to like have this experience. I think it would be really good for you.
Yeah.
Like, I really want you to experience this with me. So I was like, okay. It was just like it was a number of things that like added up together, and in my mind I was like, this makes the most sense, even though it actually makes the least sense. Like, this is what I need to do, you know?
Yeah.
Like
And I mean, it's obviously been a great decision for you. A lot of great things came out of it. I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like you've excelled. I've seen it in your dancing, like seeing your dancing over the years. It's unbelievable now. Not that it wasn't before, but it's just
right.
mind blowing, you know?
Right. It's the same, like, I mean, it's the same, it's still Irish dancing. That's the thing. That's interesting. I'm still the same dancer that I've always been. I think it's just, there's a sense of like, there's a sense of like evolution at Holly and Kavanagh. Like, they have a sense of, they have the foresight to see where Irish dancing could go as a sport, and as an art form. And I think that's really what has pushed me to the level that I'm at now, is that sense of like no, you don't have to do things in this way that they've always been done. You can actually do them this other way, and like, nobody's going to question it. People will just accept it if you do it another way. They're not going to say, no, this can't be done.
Right. Another area of focus for the Well winner is body image. Societally, challenges with body image are more strongly associated with girls and women, but I'm wondering if it's fair to say that it also impacts boys and men. Did you ever recognize those pressures throughout your career? And as kind of an add-on here, what is your experience like being a male in a female-dominated sport?
Ooh, there's a lot there. This is exciting. I think it's really important to, like you said, like, discussions of body image are usually female centric, and as they should be, because I do think proportionally females have like probably they have more struggles and more pressures with body image than males do, especially I would say within the Irish dancing sphere. Right. I don't think there's quite the pressure on men to like live up to a specific body type or physique. I mean, I do know I've had peers throughout my dancing career that have been like male peers that have been told they need to lose weight for no other reason than I don't know, just image like wise, which I think that's a very unhealthy. I mean, it just instills so many, like, especially from a young age, like if you're told that you have to live up to a certain standard at the age of 12 or 13, that's really going to mess up the way you see yourself for the rest of your life. you know, until somebody tells you that, no, that's not, you don't have to look like that, you know. But I personally have never felt the pressure to live up to a certain body image standard. The one thing I will say that I think is very interesting is I feel like in recent years, and this is more geared towards like show dancing, and because this is something that I've noticed with some of the bigger shows that exist that are out there, body image for men especially, like I don't feel like I fit in to the ideal body image of some of the bigger shows because I'm not super muscular. I'm not like a super, like I'm not like built. I'm not tall. I'm not broad. And that seems to me to be the ideal body type for these shows. So I even feel turned off from even applying or auditioning or reaching out or whatever, sending an audition tape in because I know I don't fit into that standard. And like, yeah, I don't know. That's something that I think.
I mean, it's goes both ways, obviously.
Right.
I'm 4'11", so I don't fit into any chorus line anyway,
Right.
you know? So
Right.
I've kind of had similar feelings to you, but it's really interesting for me to hear that from a male's perspective. And I've actually received a message stating something very similar to what you just said. And that, you know, men are struggling also with applying to shows and fitting in and feeling accepted. So
yeah, for sure.
Okay. Seeing as how this year's Worlds were canceled due to coronavirus, it would be a missed opportunity to have you on here today, knowing that you were once or twice, three times? Twice,
Well,
unable to compete.
technically now it's 3.
Okay, true. Twice, 3 times unable to compete at Worlds and not have a discussion about what that experience felt like and how you navigated that huge disappointment. So what advice do you have for all of our followers who might be in a similar boat of disappointment and frustration right now?
So for a long time in my competitive Irish dancing career, I was very goal oriented, but those goals were always placements. They were always like, I wanted to get this placement at this major or this placement at that major. They were always like this, you know, like I wanted to win Worlds. That was my goal from when I was like 5. And you know, so my competitive Irish dancing goals were always placement oriented. And in 2018, when I transferred studios to Holly and Kavanagh, basically what happened is I was in a situation that was very unique and it was like a niche situation that not a lot of people had been in the past.
Right.
So there basically wasn't a rule they didn't have a rule that applied to my situation.
Yeah.
So when it came to that year's qualifying, I came off suspension in like November, late October of 2018, and was planning on doing a qualifier. The thing is, I didn't know what qualifier I could do because I was living in America, but I was dancing for an Irish school.
Yeah.
So